Hey gang, after watching my last video on this realistic Lab 300 turntable, I realized that since then I have fixed some things, discovered some things, and wanted to pass that on to any of you who might own one of these turntables as well and might have questions about it. Now, in that last video, I was saying how the speed was playing a little fast. There's no way to adjust it on here, like the pitch control, and that I replaced the belt that was on it whenever I got it, and that seemed to do the trick. That did, but it also didn't. Like when I would switch it to 45 RPM, it would be playing fast at that speed still. 33 was fine, but I knew it wasn't the right belt, so I ordered a replacement belt, and I looked up at like 3 different online places that are pretty well known for carrying turntable and stereo equipment. The one that I went with was Voice of Music, and they had a 25-inch belt. Now, I was told that this would need a 25.5 inch or 25.5 inch belt, and I thought that was the case because when I put the 25-inch belt on it, it was still running fast. The belt was a little too tight, and I thought it was the belt, but apparently it was not. So let me show you what was going on. First of all, take this record off and show another thing that I changed on here. It originally had the rubber platter mat with the rings all around it. I replaced it with this acrylic platter mat from Hudson Hi-Fi because I was getting static noise. It wasn't really showing up when I was playing the record, but when I would lift the record off of the platter mat, you'd hear like the crackling noise. It didn't really help with that from what I've noticed, and I also sprayed the inside of the dust cover with Windex because I heard that could help too. It really hasn't, but one thing that this platter mat does do is if you're adjusting the anti-skate or anti-skate, depending on how much you don't like skate, if you have it on a surface like this, when the anti-skate is set correctly, it will not drift inward or outward. Let me demonstrate. So if you can see, it's spinning around. And then whenever I drop the needle down on here, it stays in place. Now if it was set too high or too low, it would drift outwards or inwards, depending on which way you needed to adjust it, which also leads to, because in that previous video I talked about the counterweight balance and the anti-skate, and how the anti-skate on this one was not a dial that you have over here, but this kind of pulley weight thing. So I'll get to that as well. But first, let's get to the belt thing that I talked about. Yeah. Oh, standing on something that generated a charge. Get this off of here. Now this is a little difficult to get off because it comes like right up just short of the edge of the platter. Now if you recall, I showed you how to change the belt by taking it off of the pulley, so on and so forth. So there was a little goop on the actual shaft of the pulley, like just a little belt residue from, I guess, an older belt, because this turntable is 44 years old now, 45 years old at this point. And so that little bit of goop was adding just a little bit of tightness to this, which was making it run fast. So I got in there, I mostly use my fingernail to scrape it off. I would loosen it with like some 91% rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip and then go in there. And for little bitty parts, just to kind of get in the detail, I used a small X-Acto blade that I would just bear, because I didn't want to scrape it and damage it or anything. So that's what I used to get to that. And it got the speed running perfectly on 33 and 45 RPM. So, yay. Now getting to the whole counterbalance and anti-skate. Let's put this guy back on here. Oh, actually, you know what? Before that, let me show you how to clean and lubricate this thing. Here it is without the platter on it, and I will show you where I used oil and lubrication. But first, let's look at what I used for the oil and lubrication. For the oil, I used this sewing machine oil, which I think I got it at Walmart. Yeah, pretty sure I did. And then I got this at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and it is white lithium grease, which I sprayed onto a towel and then just dipped a Q-tip into like a little bit of it and applied it to the parts for lubrication. So let's cut over and see. So for the oil, I put a little drop just right in at the base of the motor right there. And for the lubrication, like I said, I dipped a Q-tip into the grease and put it around this plastic wheel right here. Put a little bit on the metal part of this spindle so that the platter could go on it freely. Do not get it on any of these plastic parts. And I put just a smidge there and then some just a smidge right there and then some on this gear right there. Just wipe off the old grease. Like, I think you're not supposed to get it on here or on these teeth or anything. So yeah, just a little around here, a little up there, a little there. If there are other places, and also some, like when you pull this out, I put a little bit on there. If there's any that I missed, feel free to comment down below. All right, let's put this back together. Ta-da, all back together. Now, I mentioned earlier about the counterweight and the anti-skate and the all of that 8. What led me to realize that the counterweight was gone, or was not gone, but was set wrong, was it was set to 1.5 grams right there. You see the little line there? But I didn't realize the counterweight was pushed all the way forward. Like, you could not see any of this pole right there. It was pushed all the way forward. And I discovered that because I had got a new head shell and cartridge and stylus. This is the one that it came with right here. It's a little Shore 2215 with, I believe this green stylus came from Parts Express. And I think this is just like some 3D printed head shell. It is in the shape of the original one from what I saw in the manual, but it does not look 45 years old, and it feels like a 3D printed type of material. So anyway, there's a place called My Needle Store that sold an all-in-one head shell, cartridge, stylus, so you don't have to worry about like mounting it on to the head shell if you don't know how to do it, like me. I don't. And they had a silver one that matched the tone arm, so it was cool. I got it, I put it on. You just like unscrew this right here, pop out the old one, pop in the new one, screw it back, and I put it back on. And whenever I went to go put it on the record, it was making this scraping sound, and I could even look and see that the stylus, the plastic, the green part, was scraping on the record. And I was like, that's no good. So I thought it was just mounted wrong, and I wrote them. They sent me back another one. And then I put that one on, and it wasn't scraping, but like the left channel was really staticky. So it's like, all right, I don't know what's going on here. And I asked some people online, and they're like, yeah, it's pushing down way too hard, and that counterweight is way too far forward, and you might need to adjust your anti-skate as well, which I don't know how to do because it's just this series of poles and weights. Normally, like I said before, it's a dial that you can set it to match, about the same number as what your counterbalance is. So I decided to start from scratch and just zero the thing out, which is whenever you get your tone arm and you have it to where it's like floating freely. If you lower it down, like this is being lifted up with the lifter, but if you lower it, you get it to where it's like completely parallel to the turntable and it's just floating free. And then you turn this to where it's at 0. And since this has a tracking force of like 1.25 or 1.5, I set it to 1.5, and then it's all good to go. Now, the anti-skate on this, it's actually this little knob, this weight that's moving up and down. And on this pole, there are 3 notches, and it's in the manual. Like it shows you which one it should be set to depending on what kind of stylus you have, whether it's elliptical, conical, blah blah blah. I had it set to what I believed it was saying in the book, but it wasn't exactly right. So then I just did the thing where I brought it over, put it on the platter, lowered it down, and that's at the wrong spot. So but had it to where it was set and it wasn't moving like I showed earlier. So there you go. That's all the things that I've done to fix and tighten up and get it up to where it should be up and running perfectly, theoretically. So yeah, if you have any questions about what to do with the Lab 300 if you just got it, or any suggestions as far as what I may or may not have done wrong with it, feel free to comment below. All suggestions are welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Have a blessed day.